Yeah, living inside an onion. What the heck is that like? I don't know, I've never done it before, but it sounds fascinating. I always think you should try something at least once. Doesn't have to be a big onion though to live in it. Who's going to be first today to Onion Chat Saturday evening? Why does the weekend go by so fast? That should be a criminal thing. A weekend should last a week, and a week of days of work should go by as fast as 2 days. That would be awesome. Absolutely awesome. Mowed my yard, did my raking, did some errands. Too hot to do much of anything else, but here we are. Living inside an onion. You know, James lived inside of a peach. Hi, Christine, how are you? James lived inside of a peach. That thing was huge. The peach pit was like opulent. And then the book ended with it being in Central Park in New York, and James got to live in it. What a happy end to a story. I'm all right. And he had Aunt Spiker and Aunt Sponge for his aunts that raised him, and they were cool as all get out. I love books that take a kid from bad situation, put him in something way better. That book always stuck with me. James and the Giant Peach. The silkworm, the ladybug, the centipede. What the heck else did they have? The firefly or something. That was a trip. Fascinating world. Kids' books. James and the Giant Peach, Stuart Little. Hey, Eagle Back, it was all right. How are you? How is life in the upper 48? In Alaska, they call it the lower 48. How is it in the upper 48? You're Youngstown, Ohio. I've been through there long, long time ago. And I drove through there in my 62 Chevy truck. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Youngstown, Ohio had a reputation, oh my. Yeah. I'm on. You live in Youngstown? If I remember right, Youngstown in 1986 was a rough town. It had a reputation for being rough. It was off of Interstate 8090, the 8090. Mob town, yes. Yes. Outside of the Akron a ways. Mr. E-Rock, how are you? Lake Milton. I'll tell you what, Ohio countryside is beautiful country. Beautiful place. You can have Akron, you can have Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton, Toledo. No thanks. Get out of those places, far out of those places. Ohio is beautiful. I've driven all the way across the north, coming from Indiana on the 8090, and I drove all the way across the southern part. Southern part is God's country. The West Virginia-Ohio border is breathtaking. I remember driving that truck, and the sun was coming up, and I was driving through thick forest and windy, hilly roads, and it came in, and in the sunlight came through the dew-drenched trees, and it opened up, and you could see down into Ohio, and I was like, look at that framed view. Wow. Man, my next day off is not until Labor Day. I don't get no holidays. I gotta wait till the end of September to get my 5 vacation days and my 5 sick days. If I don't use my 5 vacation days, by the end of the year, they throw them on a paycheck, so at least we don't lose them. They do not let you roll them over. They're slick. That sucks. That sucks. Akron sucks. Yeah, 60 years old. And I do not like Akron. I was there for 6 months. Rubber Town has seen better days. It's had some nice looking old neighborhoods, but I'm just going to say it. Akron's been dominated by, well, woke politics. And it's become a very divided community, black and white. I would say it like it is. The one guy seems to be a go-getter. The problem is, doesn't know who her is. I'm lost. What are you talking about, E-Rock? Yeah, Ohio, beautiful. The smaller towns are beautiful. I have a friend. I have not been in touch with her for some time. She's on my Facebook through the school bus page. She drives school bus down in Washington Courthouse, which is the name of a town in Ohio. Beautiful place. Akron is not my cup of tea. My allergies were really bad there. I did fine in West Virginia. I've done fine down here in Georgia. I mean, we got mold and heat and yellow pollen in March that'll coat everything. But I do okay. I've got mild allergies, but nothing severe. Oh, Mr. E-Rock, I have learned. I've been running the pack table by myself, with the exception of help from my supervisor and the shipping clerk. I've been doing it. I'm like, you know what? Don't even bother to hire anybody. Just let me be. Yeah, Christine, it's been hot here too. Hotter than a skillet. And I mow my yard in the heat of the day. I get done mowing, I come in and get a nice big drink of water, and then I go back out and rake up. And I need to borrow a chainsaw. I'm not paying $300 for a chainsaw. I need to cut up that doggone stump from that tree. Sick of backing up and having to swerve around it. It's probably that here too. But it's clouded up. They're saying T-storms by 6. I hope so. I really, really hope so. There we go. Busted. All right. Frozen veggies and rainbow. That's too hot. I'm gonna start singing that song by Smash Mouth. You might as well be walking on the sun. Dun, 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 dun. It ain't no joke. The soles of my shoes are melting, and my ice cream is a drooping. Oh, I wonder why the power's going out. Think of all the songs with heat in it. Hot child in the city. Hot-blooded, check in and see. I got a fever of 103. You know it's too hot, too hot. Gotta run for shelter. Gotta run for shade. Thunderstorm. Christine, we gotta have fun. All right, everybody, name your favorite book as a kid. What is the favoriteest story time book you read as a child? I read a lot. The Mouse and the Motorcycle, James and Giant Peach, Stuart Little, Snowbound, The K, The Old Man and the Sea. I think as a kid, my favorite was a toss-up between James and the Giant Peach and Stuart Little. Amen, that's right. Oh, it's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. Uh-oh, I better stop. Mystery Rock, I've come to the conclusion. C-Spot Run? Oh, Christine, that's too much. Don't tell me you had the yellow readers as a kid that we did in California. Dick sees Jane and Jane sees Spot. Spot went up the hill. I remember those stupid things. And then they had the little plastic bear shoe that you had to learn to tie. And then they had the little clock that you had to play with to learn to tell times. And I couldn't understand, clock. It's 3 o'clock. What is o'clock? Nobody would explain what o'clock is. Nobody explained what PM means. PM means afternoon, evening. AM means morning. Nobody explained that. Romper Room. Yep. Dusty's Treehouse. And Bozo the Clown. Boy, Bozo was dumb. Captain Kangaroo. The Electric Company. Sunny day, chasing the clouds away. Won't you show me how to get to Sesame Street? Little Critter series by Mercer Mayer. I've never heard of that. Hello there, D. Miller. Captain Kangaroo. I love the Electric Company. I love Sesame Street. I like Mr. Rogers. Did you know Mr. Rogers did all the voices in that show? Mr. McFeely. I did not know it. The Librarian. He did all the voices. Reading Rainbow. I remember that vaguely. Electric Company, yes. Mr. Rogers was awesome. He was a man of integrity. And when we got older in middle school, we laughed at him, said he was GAY. He was not. He was probably one of the most well-adjusted men ever on TV. Loved his wife. His mother made the sweaters that he would take off and hang in the closet. Mr. Rogers taught kids there's only one you. And you know what? He toured our world. Today we're going to learn how they make crayons. Crayons. He didn't call them crayons, they were crayons. He rode on a school bus, introduced us to the school bus driver, took us to factories. Mr. Rogers was as down to earth, was not snobby, was not stuck up. The guy was something. Snuffleupagus, yes. It's Snuffleupagus, I think. I can't smell it for the life of me. That song or that music by Herb Alpert stuck in my head, The Spanish Flea. That was another one. He was absolutely outstanding band. Most of his music when I was a kid was instrumental and very cool. One of my favorite pieces ever by Herb Alpert was Rise. Rise came out in the 1980s, and it really, really was well done. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da. It was like a Spanish version of disco. The guy was amazing. Brilliant. That was the one time I saw my mother actually happy. I had that Herb Alpert on LP, and I'd play it in my room, and I'd play that Rise. That was the only time in my life that I would see my mother come down and actually start dancing. And it made me happy, because when my mother was happy, life was good. It's funny how that works. That was the only song that she would get up and move to. Just kind of shocks me. You know, they'll turn it around that I rejected them, but they have made no effort, any of that family, to reach out to me or care since I dealt with them years ago. And I had a hard time believing most of my life that love from people is actually something that can be real. E-Rock, one thing I've noticed about work, we got a new guy recently, and he's a good worker. He catches on very fast. He's been dating a girl. He's actually a black guy, dating a white girl for last year. They're about to have a baby boy. And he says, yep, I gotta work. And he's good. He's learning the computer fast and our matrix quickly. 28 years old, kind of a shock. Got dreadlocks and everything, and the guy is, I said, man, you are really awesome. Slither, I don't always have it on in the early mornings. That's why I do my rants oftentimes solo. This morning I had it on. Surely by accident, I went ahead and hit go. Like, oh, I forgot to turn the chat off, and I thought, well, we'll just leave it on. We'll just leave it on. Oh, what a deal. Went to the flea market, all I found was a red plain t-shirt. Yeah, we've not been hiring too many. We stopped using one of the temp agencies that was sending us nothing but crap. They finally got somebody else because they realized we're getting people that aren't fit for this kind of work. The other problem is too, and I'm going to be very honest, their pay for what they're asking us to do is very low. And that's discouraging a lot of people. You can go to Amazon and get $21 an hour. Now the problem with Amazon is Amazon will kill you. If you're in packing, it's quotas and boom, 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 boom. Hey, she said, good to see you. Well, glad you made it, Slither. Slither on in. Well, Christine, it's mac and cheese. I can't eat wheat, so it's made out of rice pasta. steamed broccoli, carrots, snap peas, and water chestnuts, and rice. I didn't put the tuna in it today, but that's what it looks like. Annie's pasta, it's made out of rice flour and not wheat. I do not have a gluten problem, I just can't have wheat. Gives me a rash. I noticed something has changed. I've noticed there's something in the air sometimes. I wanted to share that with you. I'm a nice person, and I haven't, when I go out there in public, like flea market, I don't always, most people don't know where I stand. I just be nice. I come to buy things and chit chat with people. And I noticed that a couple people have gotten kind of cool towards me when I've gone. One has some very odd beliefs, and I've never challenged her because people, they say a lot of things and I just listen. But yeah, you just see that people today shift and change. Now, I would expect that when you're young. But when you're up into our age, you think, why? Really, Slither? I bought some tilapia today. What's this? Hail Satan, you're out of here. Man, somebody's not paying attention. We're not hailing the devil, man. Only clowns do that. I'll be right back. I'm gonna set up so I can sit down and eat. La, da, 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 da. Spanish Fleet. I love that song. That music. That's so cool. I thank God that the air conditioner is working. Got those little kinks ironed out. Don't have to blow $10,000 yet. What is this? It's chat. It's just Saturday talk about everything and anything. All right, let's do this. Wrong way. Now. Anybody hear me? Anybody hear me? No, it's not a transgender thing. Testing, testing. Anybody hear me? Did we go off the air? Hello, hello. Thumbs up it if you can hear me. Hello. Can anybody hear me? Am I heard? Is there audio? Okay, thank you. Yeah, the dang screen went dark when I stupid iPhone. I tell you, Apple is gay. Completely gay. This thing's not as high tech as it wants us to believe. Look at this big old pot. I could put that whole pot away, but I won't. Lex, I am 100% man, born a man, will die a man. I like to try my own fashion. I do my own thing. Hi, Dr. Mantis. Mr. E-Rock, can you hear? Can everybody raise your hand if you can hear me? Douglas, we're not going to talk about it in here. You can watch the video. I'm done poisoning the chat with that. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I now present to you the amazing Ocean Heart. Watch him put this whole pot inside of his belly. Watch his belly explode like a Hindenburg. You're good, Lex. I have a little chat PTSD. We've had a lot of trolls and troublemakers, so I'm a little bit trigger touchy. Lex, are you man or woman, and what state are you from? You understand then. Woman, Tennessee, right on. Denola's from Tennessee. We have a couple from Tennessee. Yes, we are, Mrs. T, because we have community. We don't need no disunity. We want harmony. Don't lickle me. What? What is FFS? Oh, yeah, well, I'll tell you what. They might get their wish. The way the world's headed, they can go worship him in the lake of fire soon. Well, thank you, Mrs. T. I have a good group of people here, and I am not starting a cult. I cannot get enough juice today. You know, I get done with yard work, and I just feel like drinking a 5-gallon bucket of water. I think it would be fun. I don't know if everybody would laugh at me, but Well, thank you for that, Douglas. Finch, how are you? Yep. We're not the Kool-Aid cult. We're not the Pudding Hale-Bop cult. We're not the David Koresh. Let's bury a school bus in my backyard and bring everybody else's wife down in there and have a session down there. Boy, was that guy a goon. Remember all that in Waco, Texas? Hey, you can send those thunderstorms right here, Slither. This is all right. Same thing. Flea market, errands, mow the yard. Wacko. We did call it that. Gullible people. That's all I can say. There's no excuse for that. Grown people read the Bible. Stop following people. That's why you get in trouble. Hi, Misty. Oh, wow, Slither, that's not good. That's it. David Koresh would have raised every idiot light on my dash if I was listening to him. I'd be like, that's not right. That's not right. Back up, leave, get out. Hi, Trina Jones. Hi, Tricky. Misty, you got a mullet? A little bit of everything, Cheeky. Nothing in particular. Oh, that's not good. That is one bad thing about West Virginia. It can flood like a constantly. All those mountains with creeks and rivers running in between them. Yeah, I heard about that, Douglas. Somebody was doing work in there and found all that money. I didn't think you guys got hit by a Helene. It hit me full bore here. My neighborhood looked like a war zone. Trees and power lines down all over the place. You couldn't go a block without a roadblock. D. Miller, Planet G. I'm not familiar where that is. I stayed, excuse me, a month in Morgantown, West Virginia in '86. You hit a soap dispenser? What? Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. And welcome on in. So how come he didn't go to jail? Did he pay up? Planet G, you're worrying me. You're so tired, you gotta go to the doctor. I don't want to tell you what to do, but you gotta get that checked. I'm glad you didn't hit anything else and knock your head out. You know, that alone tells me he has no integrity. Planet, you got me worried. Take all the caffeine out of your diet. Don't drink anything with caffeine. Cut that out entirely. I hate that. Ugh. A little piece of food goes down in there. It moves back and forth and cough it up. Hits back your nose, breathe in, and it goes back down there. Stupid. Wow. Sometimes I hate the human throat. Joke. Yeah, better. Oh man, I'm tired over here. I need you to make an appointment with me tomorrow, Dr. Nelson, and we'll have to figure out a prescription for you. Hey, Pam. How are you? Desi! Welcome in. Desi's cool, by the way. She's a content creator, got some fun videos. She lives in Washington State. And she's true Native American, by the way. Very cool lady. Very cool. She has fun. She's older like me. And we be old, but we ain't dead yet. And she get up and dance in her house, and I encourage her because I think it's awesome. That's right. Desi, Dr. Mantis is native, and he lives on an island on the Great Lake Huron on the Canada side. Desi, I love that energy, man. I'm glad to see some of us old people are showing the young people how to. You don't see the young people getting up and dancing. They're really young. No offense, I'm going to say it. If they're on YouTube at all, it's dumb stuff. Dumb. Not all, just most of it. Desi, you're Gen X too, right? Magnesium, isn't that like a multiple vitamin, or not a multiple, but a vitamin, right? That's right, Desi. Gen X is the best. Good to see you, Desi. I love that music when you were driving in the car the other day in that beautiful area. Very pretty. Makes me want to go back to Washington. I'm in hot Augusta, Georgia. It's humid. It's hot. It's all right, but it's hot. At least at night, Washington always cools down. Really? You speak Choctaw? Wow. Got you, Desi. You have a good afternoon, evening over there, and thanks for coming in, and be safe. I appreciate you. Dance is awesome, greatest. No, I didn't. You take care, Desi. I'll be looking for you in your videos. I like your Tums video. That was awesome. Tums for trolls. No, for trolls, we give them X-Lax so they have to sit on the toilet all day. Give them a whole bottle of prune juice. They're so busy on the toilet, they won't have time to troll the internet. Fractured back. Pam, what happened? Hi, Julie. But I will tell you this. Right here in Richmond County, an elementary school kid, first day of school, right here in Augusta, showed up with a gun in his backpack. When I drove the bus out here, I told the other drivers, I said, how much you want to bet these high school routes we're on, these kids got heat in their backpack? And the driver said, you know they do. And you got a grade school kid got caught with a gun in his book bag. First day of school, Augusta. Jesse, have a good one. And thank you for coming in. Wow. Why would you attack the cops? They're so stupid. People are dumb today. They're losing their minds. Yeah, D, you know what's sad? This younger generation didn't play Monopoly. The object is to stay out of jail, not go to jail. Trucker, absolutely. Absolutely. Hi, Kelly. Adam, absolutely. I don't like dodgeball myself because kids hated me and they tried to aim for my face. And the teachers made me play, so I would stand right at the edge of the line. Because if they hit me and the ball went out, they were out. They'd yell, Nelson, why you stand up? I said, I don't want to get hit in the face. They didn't call it dodgeball when I was in school. It was called slaughter ball. Slaughter ball. Teachers and gym people didn't do a damn thing. Kids were trying to hit people in the face and hurt them. And I agree with you. I agree with you. What's going to happen is they'll eliminate dodgeball. Now, Douglas, I'm going to tell you something. I was bullied. And I should have been able to tell the teacher, look, they're trying to hit me in the face. I've got expensive glasses. I don't want to play this game. I should have been able to do that. They didn't. Today I would. I'd say, no, I'm not going to play. I'm not going to have my glasses broken. You cannot make me do a school activity that causes damage to my glasses. Okay? That's stupid. Hey, Adam, thank you, and come again, and have a good evening, enjoy your dinner, and be safe. Lieutenant Dan, how are you? Christine, welcome back. Busy working on a weekend, man. Douglas, you know, there's a lot of people. I'm going to tell you about a situation that happened because I don't work there, so, and no privacy is being violated because I'm not mentioning school or bus route or kid name. But I rode on a special needs bus. We had a little boy, and he'd come out on the bus. He was in a weird program. He would go to school on the military base part of the day. Middle of the day, a bus would pick him up, take him to a school that we serviced on an afternoon and morning route. So we'd have the little boy in the afternoon. And he started coming out the bus with scratches on his arms, marks on his face. And the driver I worked with said, Mike, look, I'm taking a picture of all that because we'll get blamed. I said, good idea. The teacher that received him was African American. She came out to the bus. She said, that mother of that kid, she didn't say it in front of the boy. She said, that mother is accusing me of child abuse. I said, hold on, ma'am. What? Well, he had scratches. I said, he got on the bus with those. He got on the bus with those scratches. Because we had to do the midday one day out of the other school on base. And she took pictures. And then they investigated her, found that she didn't do it. Then they investigated the other bus driver and the monitor. Then I was called in by the same guy I talked to that handled me when I was accused of the video that was racist. And I told the detective, I said, my driver has photographed him every time we see marks on him. He goes, Mike, I believe you guys. He said, this kid came to school with damage so bad a few years ago that we opened up CSP or CPS, and they came out and found her guilty of child abuse. Well, now he's showing up with marks again. Now she's trying to blame the school system. And you got people like that. You know, the mother's not going to admit it. Her husband was in the military. I met Dad. Dad was cool. They lived on base. We saw him once or twice. He's out on duty. And she's living there. She looked like she was on drugs. I was shocked. Fort Gordon, right here. They got drugs going on in there. They deal drugs in the base. They smoking pot, doing crack on the base. You know, the husbands or the wives of the spouses. It's crazy. Yeah, Kelly, it's ridiculous. Yep, I have to write a statement. Say, I buckle this child in every day. Driver I work with has been taking photos of injury to face, injury to arm, shoulder, scratches, bruises. And I'd always look at him and say, dude, how'd you do that? He said, I don't know. I said, you bang into something? Yeah, maybe. He wasn't going to tell the truth. I'm not allowed to ask leading questions. I can only ask open-ended questions. Well, we did our part. We let the school know every day. But a black woman was accused, and they investigated her, and I said, hey, we know that teacher. And this kid is coming to school with marks on him. And we took him home last night and there were no marks. So how could the teacher be doing it? So it's between the house and the other school he goes to us. And since we picked him up at the school on the midday one day, and he had scratches, hey, did this happen in school? No. You know something's going on. When the mother came out in the bus, I'm not being rude, I'm just saying she had no bra. She looked like an emo girl. Did not speak clearly to us, white girl. She was not like, hey guys. She's very rude. I'd have to bring a kid to her front door because she wouldn't come out of the house sometimes. She'd open the door, grab him by the hand, shut the door. Didn't even say thanks, nothing. And the driver looked at me and said, is she on drugs? I said, she on something because she sure ain't nice. Yeah, that was a few years ago. The kid, I'm trying to remember what was his dang age, 6, 7 years old. He used to drive everybody nuts. He'd sit in the seat behind the driver. I'd buckle him in the car seat, or we had seat belts on the sped bus. I'd buckle him in. And he'd say, guess what, Mike? I pooped in my pants today. Every day. And he'd say it through the entire route. I pooped in my pants. Hey, Mike, I fought it. I said, man, you got to do that every day. Yeah, I like to poop in my pants. And the driver turned around. Boy, you better stop that. I don't want to hear that. Don't you talk to me like that. I pooped in my pants today. And he told the driver. We'd get him dropped off. I'd look at the driver. I said, do you feel like we're working for the mental institution? She goes, I'll tell you what, Mike, that kid's messed up. I said, you think? All through the route, I pooped in my pants today. Guess what? I pooped again. I said, no more talk about poop. Why? I like to talk about poop. I'm a poop. This kid is freaking nuts. All I could do was just laugh. I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. I mean, we get mad, we're going to have a bad route. I might as well just say, okay. So I started doing it right back to him. He come up the bus. I said, guess what? What? I said, I pooped in my pants today. You stop that. You're an adult. No, I pooped in my pants. That's not right. I said, but I did. I did reverse psychology and he stopped it for a week. Oh my gosh. The other kids who were more in tune with life, he'd get off the bus and one of the kids looked at me and said, you know, I know this isn't very nice, but I'm glad when he gets off the bus. And I can't say, yeah, me too. Oh, they laugh at farts and all that. I get it, but he would say it so loud and the driver would get mad. I had to tell her, look, you know he's got some difficulties. I said, you just got to endure it. Well, Mike, that kid's old. I said, I know. He's got the longest ride on this bus and all the way down the road. I pooped in my pants today. Yep, that's right. I pooped. I keep doing it and doing it and doing it. One day I sat behind him, and he didn't see me, and I went, somebody farted! Somebody farted! I mean, he just went off. The driver looks at me, Mike, you better stop it. Oh my gosh. Look, she said, I have just as much energy as these dang kids, but they wear me out too. Kelly! Where's Kelly? Kelly! Planet G, you're so nice to me. Look, I gotta show you this because this is first class. Look at this. If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, look at this, folks. Look at what G did. Wow, I'm moving up in the world, folks. We ain't playing around no more. Michael, you're so handsome. Thank you, darling. I'll feel more handsome after we seal that business deal on Monday. Isn't that cool? She did a couple of others too. I thought I'd showcase them. DG, I thought it was awesome. Dress up like $1 million trooper, trying hard to look like Gary Cooper. Super duper dapper, yes. Oh boy, I haven't heard that word in a minute. Putting on the Ritz. Oh, darling, that was such a lovely ball. Yes. Let's go home, Matilda. It's been a long evening. That's amazing that you can do that. Now, I'm not a fan of AI on different levels, but that stuff's kind of cool. Now, wait till I grow my hair out and put that back in 1940s. That's going to look off. Wow, I didn't know they had mullets back then. And the red light. Now, Planet G, you're awesome. Planet G, you cheer me up. I feel bad that you banged your head. I don't like that. This is when I wish I was rich. I say I don't want a big house. The only way I'd want a big house is grab you, Tans, certain others, and have a group home, a safe house. No molestation, no rape, no agendas. Where we all can live together and play cards, do jigsaw puzzles, do videos, and people could get healed and well and have a community. Wouldn't that be awesome? You know, though, even with that, there's still problems. We still have a sinful nature. We still have problems. But in a perfect world, wouldn't it be fun? I'm not a dress-up guy, but I am going to tell you, those women back then, I definitely would put on the dog. I'm not going to show up like this. Hey, darling, what do you say we go in there and sit next to the Rutherfords tonight, seeing if their charm can rub off on us? Oh, darling, that's a splendid idea. You know, I can't stand Mrs. Rutherford. She's so snobby. Don't worry about that. I'll handle that part. Rascal. Oh, darling, I forgot my bra and my corset. Really? That's why I almost got my eyes poked out. Never mind, just sit close to me, put your chest in my arm, nobody else will see it. I might have to calm myself down though, but we'll get through it. Oh, the 40s were cool. I never saw that, Papa. I never saw that. Hey, Molly. Absolutely, DG. You know, I read in the 60s. 60s, people were trying to do different things, and they had communes. They'd have a community group, and they'd farm. But you read about it, and it didn't work. Because some people did all the work, some did none. Some just wanted to have sex and play and smoke pot. And from the best I read in the 60s, bringing all those people to have a community did not work out. And even as a Christian, we have moods, we have our flesh, and, you know, there's no perfect utopia. Trans! Tans, look. Look at this. Look at this, Tans. You want to know what I did today? Boy, I went for the high life today. I went back in time and I met her face to face. Look at that. Her hair is hollow gold, her lips sweet surprise. Her hands are never cold. She got Betty Davis eyes. Who's the stud? You funny G. Wow, that sounds harsh. She said it. You know the score, Alcatraz. Wait, you're not in Alcatraz, Tans? That's in my world. Well, it's a long ways for me. It's California, San Francisco. We are broken, absolutely. 100%. Oh, I'm going to show you this, but no, I can't. It's funny, if I show it, I could get censored. There's a girl on YouTube. I'm going to show it real fast. Look. And we're going to get rid of it. Did you notice something? That's a YouTube screenshot. She's doing videos with her pants down where her vagina hair's showing over the top. And I did leave a comment on that. I said, why is she not getting shut down for that? I saw that this morning. She's got a whole channel full of that. So YouTube is not shutting down channels. Why is a girl showing her pubic hair? Yeah, D, isn't that crazy? Hi, Memphis. Yes, Kelly, what's that all about? It is gross. Totally agree. Now I'm out there, but I'm not going to have that. That's just crazy. Rotten Doc Hotline, speechless. Yeah, why would you do that? Why would you do that? They think that's cute. Have you seen her on YouTube, Kelly? No class. Absolute Ricky. Ricky, how are you? Okay, low rise is cool, but you shave. I don't need to see that. And I did leave a comment. I didn't say anything about her. I said, how come YouTube doesn't shut this down? It's totally inappropriate. That's gross. I would never, thongs are gross. They're butt floss. I don't need butt floss. That's crazy. Now, I'm a guy, I can understand if women don't want to wear a bra. I don't think that's gross. I think there's a time and a place for it. But pubic hair? Bushy Betty. You know what? If a woman doesn't wear a bra, I love it. I think that YouTube, you need to be careful about that because then it's just PORN. And a lot of women are doing that. Especially the big chests. No bra and they're walking and they're bouncing. And all the guys are there going, man, I love this. I want a motorboat. And I wrote on one day, I said, no content at all. Zero. That's not content. Okay, you can be good looking, you can be sexy, but that's not content when you got your nipplies poking out. It's soft PORN. That's all it is. I mean, I'm a grown man, but even I get tired of these, what I call teaser channels. Kelly, I've heard that. Unfortunately, in the US, there's a site called Girls Out West, and it's all Aussies. There's some beautiful ones, and there's a lot of hairy ones, too. I'm like, what's with the hair under the arms? That's right, D. But can the FBI do anything about it? Are tarot cards, I mean, we don't agree with it. But on a legal standpoint, is it illegal to read tarot cards on YouTube? What are crawlers? Later it was hairier than King Kong. Hey, Jay Paul. Oh, Jay Paul, I was just talking about a woman that's showing the top of her pubic patch above her vagina. The pants, the low ride. And I don't understand why YouTube isn't shutting that down. First of all, you and all of us can agree tarot cards are not, they're not ordained by God. It's demonic. Look, I'm a guy, but I don't want to see a girl with hair sticking up. That's for the bedroom. That is for the bedroom. Devil's cards, they're Kim Kardashian's undergarments, pubic hair, Skims. Wow. Wow, DG, that's crazy. As we've said before, so say I yet again. We're living in a world where anything goes. And as we get closer to Christ's return, anybody remember old pipe organs? Does anybody know what the term stops on a pipe organ are? You ever heard the expression, pull out all the stops? And that's what people are doing. They're pulling out all the stops. Anything goes. I started to tell you earlier, I was fixing my grub. People at the flea market. One was always nice to me. Always. I said, hey. She didn't respond. And her daughter was there, and her daughter looked at me, and her daughter looked at her, and she was kind of like, Mom. I said, well, I was there like a couple minutes, and she was looking at something on her phone. I said, well, I'll see you guys. Have a good day. I'm sorry. I said, we're good. And I left. Another lady, she believes in some psychic, new agey type stuff. Every time she's grumpus. And I stopped going to her booth and speaking. I'm like, she's so down. And I don't say, she's talking to me more with an edge. I get the feeling I'm not welcome. So today I saw her, but her back was to me, and I cruised right on by. And I'm like, you don't have to talk about God. The devil in them knows the Jesus in you. We're going to see this more and more. People are just not going to like you, period, because you're in the light. All right, let's see. Pro-extensionism. Jay pulled that. Everybody should report that. Now that they could potentially do something, because that's encouraging people to be violent or suicide. Memphis, well said. I didn't think of it that way, but you are correct. Yeah, well, if they would read the Bible, and we talked about David Koresh and the pudding cult and the Jim Jones Guyana, You realize that Jim Jones back in the day had politicians, black, whites, Asian, people in high society all got sucked into that? If you just read the Word. Don't be listening to these dang fools. And that's why I get on some of you. Stop praising me. I sin. Stop praising your pastor. Stop praising some Christian musician. Stop it. You praise God and only God. Don't puff my head up. Don't puff up people's heads. God said, I will share my glory with no other. The only one that we can praise that's not pig-headed is God. That's crazy, J. Paul. I don't even want to see it. They haven't read the Bible. God's going to judge this world. The wrath of God is coming. And God is going to burn the entire universe and this earth with fire. Eventually. And that's why people think, you listen to Bill Gates. He says too much overpopulation. Excuse me, Bill Gates, you got a house the size of a school. You bought a huge amount of land in South Dakota. You're worried about population control, but look at how much you own. You got a giant piece of the pie, buddy. Why don't you house some of those people on your property? I get so tired of these losers on the left. We are not overpopulated as a world. Ride with me across America and I'll prove it to you. Let's go to South America. Let's go to Patagonia. Let's go deep into countries where there's nobody. People group up in cities. People are weird. They're like crabs. Have you ever seen crabs? They all crawl up on top of each other. They're stupid. People do the same thing. Oh, let's all go where all the people are at. Why? Mr. Gates doesn't even know Jesus. Hello, Mr. Russell. Yep, Ronald Nancy Reagan. Yep, Nancy was definitely dipping and dabbling into the occult. I forgot about that, DG. Thanks for bringing that up. Just because people voted in a decent president doesn't mean that they're not dabbling in Satan. People are people. Hello, Matthew. How are you? Yep, I did too as soon as DG said it. Was it Mrs. Roosevelt that claims she saw or spoke with her dead mother or some weird thing? Who claimed that crap? Well, thanks for coming in, Matthew. You doing all right? You surviving the heat? Yep, and I don't support that. I got a message for Mr. Gates. If you believe the world's overpopulated, do us a favor and eliminate yourself. Why should you have a house the size of a school building? Why should you be able to own giant swaths of land? Why do you get to decide the world's overpopulated? He's an absolute clown. It was a long week, I agree. Well, look, most of Capitol Hill sits in the hand of the devil. I don't know the stats on that, Matthew. Look, you got, is it the Rockefellers? Who's that other family? They're corrupt as hell. The Rockefellers and another family. Hey, Carol, how are you? And it's interesting, Vanderbilt. That's one. But there's another one I was thinking of. You know, some of these people, and I have to say this, even though I hate to say this, Soros, Zuckerberg, Barbara Walters is dead, but they're Jewish. Rothschilds, yes. Evil. Which one of them are Jewish? The Rockefellers or the Rothschilds? Which one are Jewish? That's what I thought. I thought there were more men because I think in China they had one child policy. I don't think they favored men or girls. Oh, BlackRock or Blackstone, they're evil. Hey, Lola, Rothschilds are Jewish. So the Rockefellers were not. They're actually the same company. I found that out. That was it, brothers, and one called it BlackRock, one Blackstone. I'll be back. I'm gonna wash this stuff and head on to the room. Oh, my body was so sore. I actually slept 7 hours. Where is Colette? I thought she was gonna come back in here. Trying hard to look like Gary Cooper. Super duper. Rabbits on their mitts. Putting on the Ritz. Man, when that song, that group named Taco came out in the 80s, I love that. Putting on the Ritz song, that was so cool. I have thought the same thing, Jim. World War II, Adolf Hitler tried to pin blame on Jews. Ironically, Adolf Hitler was Jewish in blood himself. And the world has always tried to blame Jews and God and everybody for everything but themselves. But when you got Zuckerberg and you got these high profile, very rich people that are Jewish, and they are, as Tan said, on the wrong side of history. They're anti-God all the way. Colette came in or no? Where's Colette? Colette, there you are. I should have messaged you. I'm like, where is Colette? She's not in here, doggone it. What bothers me is George Soros. Why is he meddling in the U.S. and causing problems? Mr. Palad, Backstreet Boys. You crack me up, Palad. You crack me up. Mowed it all again. Cleaned it all up. It was thick. You can tell by the lines of, I call it the chopped hair. And you can tell it was hot today. Look, it's already brown. It was hot. I was mowing it in just the direct sunlight. Got a little color to me too. You too, Matthew. Thank you for coming in. Hi, Jenny. Hi, still, Derek. I haven't seen you for a minute. Jenny, how are you? Thank you, still, Derek. Thank you, Jenny. Still white as a ghost. We got some red there. I raked under here again. Look at that. Leaves are falling off. Yeah, that means the season change is coming. But you wouldn't know it with all this heat. I want to show you something. See if we can zero in on this. See if we can zero in. I want you to look at the windows. Okay? The door, the windows. This is an unsafe neighborhood. A lot of these houses have bars over all the windows and the doors. Wanted you to see that. God has protected me. And these trolls that come in here and run their mouth, I promise you this, they could not live down here. They could not live here by themselves. They'd be shaking in their boots. And I believe that. I have done what people don't normally do. A lone white boy moving into the thick of a community that's I'm the minority in. And I'm going to say it again. If you're in the center of God's will, you're in the safest place you can be. You can be in paradise and be out of the will of God. You can be in Tahiti and be out of the will of God. Always remember that. Always remember that. Most of them, no. The ones on either side of me, yes. An older black woman behind me. I met her once. This is Georgia. People don't generally be neighborly here. They keep to themselves. Yeah, when I moved in here, there was no welcome wagon. The house next door to me, somebody was shot and killed in the driveway 6 months before I bought this house. I heard two different stories. The guy that lived there before me knew the guy that lived there before him, and he said, yeah, somebody was trying to break in. A guy I worked with said no. The police said that they were doing some, I don't know if it was drug dealing or gambling, and somebody didn't pay the bill. And the guy came over to the house to try to collect and did try to force entry, and the guy in the house shot and killed him. They haven't, Jim, but that's how dry the River Rhine, the boats can't go up and down it. There are things going on right now that I have not heard of in my life. You know, they may have had it down here, but I didn't see it when I moved here. I'm not afraid, and I'm not trying to sound macho, because that's not it. I keep alert. A couple things that I need to educate people on. This is not Detroit. This is not Baltimore. Yeah, there's trouble and bullcrap here. You fool around with druggies and drug dealers, you endanger yourself. But you have to understand, people engaged in that behavior, I keep my nose clean. They don't want to draw attention to themselves messing with me. They will mess with people that diss them, that didn't pay for the drugs. Tina and I were sitting down to dinner, 2 doors down. I heard bam, 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 bam. Tina says, what was that? I said, I'm going to go find out. Afternoon. Walked out. I saw a guy ride by on a bicycle. Like, what the heck? Within 30 minutes, tons of cop cars shut down the whole neighborhood. They were parked just on the other side of my driveway. You couldn't go that way. She and I went downtown. We had to go out and around. We came back 4 hours later. Cops were still there. They were pulled in the house 2 doors over. Asked my neighbor what happened. He said, my wife called the police. A white car pulled up and started opening fire on that brick house. He said, I know I'm between you and them. He said, you see all those teens standing out there? I said, yeah, they smoke pot. I'll be working in my yard. I can smell it wafting over. He said, Mike, all of them have sidearms on them. I said, you know, it's funny. I'd come up the street in my truck and they'd give me a friendly wave. Yeah, he said, they don't want trouble with us. He said they got into it with a neighbor on the other street where I showed you, the other street. They tried to shoot another teen. They missed and hit Dad. When they found out Dad died in the hospital, all the teens fled out of the house. The father said, I'm moving out of here. My kids are dangerous. They're causing trouble, and I'm leaving. That house sat empty before, during, and after Helene. All the trees fell in the yard, knocked out the fence. I said, who owns the house? And I was going to start doing research and find out who owned the property and see if I could buy it. Then they painted the brick white. There's a black man living in there now. I don't know if they sold it or re-rented it, but they spruced up the property. But there's gunfire here. It's been quiet for a while. But every so often, there was somebody back here. I'd be laying in here, bam, 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 bam. These clowns will just fire guns into the air. Number one, in Augusta, most of the crime is black on black. I don't fool with the black community. I don't do drug trafficking. There's a general unwritten rule. We ain't going to bother that white guy over there. He don't got nothing to do with us. Leave him alone. And I had to live here to realize that. A lot of people get afraid. Now, there's areas in Augusta I would not buy a house in. There's areas in Augusta where there's no street lights. The neighborhood is very dark. You'll go down there in the middle of the night. There's blacks sitting out all over the porch. They're hanging out on the corners. A guy like me ain't going to be living down in there because they don't want me down there. There's neighborhoods that are rough as hell over here in this Augusta. I drove the bus through those neighborhoods. They don't got no problem with me driving the bus through there. But if I was to drive my truck through and purchase a home, they're going to rob it. They're going to harass me, if not, end my life. This neighborhood is edgy. Most people, minding your own business, Derek. That's it. I don't get up. The blacks have an expression. I've adopted it for myself. Stay in your lane. Now, they bother me in my house. Now, I walked across the street and said, hey, that is too loud. Shaking my house. And they know that. And they don't want to draw attention to themselves. So it's been quiet. I don't know if we have a matriarch. I think it's more of the fraternal order of gangsta. I work at a warehouse, Tyler. That's just it. That's just it. As they say, keep your nose clean. And let's add one more layer to this. I am a child of God. Now, that doesn't mean the children of God somebody damaged it, and then the state came and knocked the rest of it down. I said, good riddance. Complete garbage. You guys want to look at something really weird? Go get on YouTube and type in weird art at DIA, Denver International Airport. Go look at the artwork at DIA. Scary stuff, weird stuff. People have speculated on what it is. Oh, not just the horses. How about all the ethnicities wearing gas masks with children in it? What the hell is that? Yeah, the horse is demonic. Even Denver natives were talking about the horse. It did not look like the Broncos horse. It looked like demon horse. But there was also, somebody also told me they got a Masonic stone out there where they did the dedication of the airport. When I went through DIA, I did not see that stuff. I'm busy catching flights or whatever. I did not see it, but I watched YouTube video on it. You know, nobody wants to admit this. I want to run something else by you. Remember in the 90s? Anybody remember in the 90s? We thought God was going to come then. And they talked about the EU. I watched the EU form. You know, not literally, but I mean, it was happening. And Christians were getting excited. They said, ooh, the 10-nation common market. This could play into the 10 toes or they were trying to figure all this out. But many Bible scholars believe there will be a revived Roman Empire. Now, you got to understand something. Rome fell. But when you talk about the 10 toes, iron mixed with clay, Rome has never died. I want you to pay attention to the buildings around the world. The Capitol buildings. The Denver State Capitol building. What is the design? They're all Roman architecture, every single one of them. Rotundas, Corinthian columns, pillars. Everybody around the world grabs something from Rome. Well, thank you, Jenny. And that's why I started wearing it. And nobody's snickering at me in public. There's a black woman at Dollar Tree, and I said, how are you? She goes, I'm good. One thing I've noticed, there's some blacks, when I actually ask, how are they, women, they warm up to that. I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you? I said, I'm good. It's hot. She goes, I see you got a good breathable shirt on. I said, yeah, it's, you can't go out there shirtless. She goes, with that, you don't need to. And people are liking it. They're seeing it and not seeing as, what is that? I will say one thing, that with a lot of blacks, they're a little more open about me doing my unique thing than sometimes the whites are. There are pros and cons. We talk about the deficits in a racial community, but there's positives. There are positives. And I'm glad I've lived here. I've experienced things. A lot of this culture is not my comfort zone. The boom, boom, the twisted thinking, the liberal left leaning. Thank you, Jenny. Rome is beautiful, but Rome carried something within it. And scholars have debated, historians have debated in just why it fell. Some say it was because they had developed a give us the bread and the circuses mentality or a welfare state. I'm going to offer something. They persecuted Christians. And God will move his hand. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Dee. And you know what? I'm not a freak. I'm not. And most people that know me know I'm not. See, Finch, there's all kinds of debates on what. I think that God, you have to remember God's not pleased with the persecution of his children. God didn't ignore that. They threw Christians Alliance for entertainment. They thought that was fun. And we could speculate till the cows come home, but God ended their reign of tyranny. But there was something that came out of Rome that never died, and that is Roman Catholicism. That is a continuation from the Roman world. The different branches of government, legislative and judicial, that's all out of Rome. The architecture of our Capitol buildings, all out of Rome. Many people believe in the last days you'll have a revived Roman Empire, of which the Antichrist will rise up. Tans, what'd you do to your back? Aquatic physical therapy is the best. I've heard that. Tans, I don't like it that you're hurting. That bothers me. Colette, why were you flying to Europe with a baby? I'm not scolding you. That's a long ride. I thought 18 hours from Denver to Manila was rough, and it was. That's too much up in the air. J. Paul, if you look at an aerial view of DC, it looks like a Masonic compass. There was also something, if you look at an aerial view of the Vatican, it looks like a giant penis. That's nice. That's really nice. How scenic. Sheesh. Now, I don't know if I've told you guys this. Hi, Don. I read a book on Petra years ago. It was not a Christian book. It was a historical book. I've also read stuff on Catholicism and Babylonian culture. One of the greatest books that anybody who is a Roman Catholic needs to read to have their eyes opened about Roman Catholicism is this book right here. This was published in 1916. This is not kid reading. This is for people who are serious about learning truth. The Two Babylons, or papal worship, proved to be the worship of Nimrod and his wife by the late Reverend Alexander Hislop. Talks about the creation of Christmas and all the holidays. And I was studying Petra, and I was studying was it in the religions of Petra? I think it talked about the religions of Petra. And something stood up in the book. I was like, oh my gosh. I was reading Dave Hunt, A Woman Rides the Beast. Dave Hunt gave the history of the popes from Constantine to the then present-day Pope John Paul II. And somewhere in my travels, they talked about in ancient Nimrod and Babylonian culture, Nimrod is very sexual. Babylonians were very sexual. And Nimrod had obelisks made that were in the shape of phallic symbol. Babylon gave birth to fertility cults. That's where Easter stuff came out of. Hot cross buns and all the symbols and imagery and dying of eggs and, all that. Nothing about Jesus Christ about it. And the author of one of the books, and I'm trying to remember if it was in the Religions of Petra, the book on Petra, said that false religion has always been dominated by sex. And he noted that the old churches, the doorways and the windows go up, Gothic, the penis head, indent, shaft. The mosques, same style. Babylonian culture, back then, same thing. Now, most of our old churches that we look up to with respect, look at the windows. They're shaped like a phallus. Tans, that's awesome. I wish, Tans, we were able to actually have a call, a conversation. It's hard to type all that. Yes, Towns, but I find it interesting that look at the churches. Look at the old churches in the U.S. Look at the mosques. Look at the shape of the building. Look at the shape of the windows and the doors on the older ones. Up. It's amazing. Religion has a thread that links them all to Satan. In the Bible, we read in Genesis, God made a covering for Adam and Eve, which means blood of an animal was shed. Rahab hung a scarlet cord in the window. She used to do it for prostitution. She was commanded by the men from Joshua's army to put it for preservation. And in the Old Testament, you see that scarlet thread of the blood of Jesus taking us to the blood of Jesus. In the Old Testament, you also see the satanic thread of false religions, all united right there in the garden. The lie to Eve. Know you not, you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. Then they put a cross on top of it. Yeah. And I'm not making this stuff up. I didn't pull this stuff out of my butt cheeks. A lot of Christians, even today and historically, have been ignorant about a lot of things. They claim to know the Bible, but they don't. Most of Christians in America embrace a lot of paganism. A lot. Christmas is not a Christian holiday. Never was. Easter is not a Christian holiday. Halloween, that's a no-brainer. But watch this. Every evangelical church is now participating in trunk or treat. Why? Why does the church do that? Well, we can use it as an outreach because trick or treating is dangerous. How about if we not celebrate a demonic holiday anyway? And churches now are having Easter egg hunts. I do not accept people telling me Happy Easter or Merry Christmas. I can't stop them from doing it. I don't say it back. The devil is active, and he will do anything to subvert. People think I'm crazy. I'm not making this stuff up. This talks about the origin of Christ Mass, Easter. Yeah, Jim, and that's so wrong. How did the church get into all that? They used to stand against it. Go back to the old Puritans in American history. They said we don't celebrate Christmas. Anybody know how it came into being? Charles Dickens, Europe, England specifically, wanted to increase sales. The merchants were having a hard time. So they marketed that feel-good, touchy-feely Christmas. I still can't believe how ridiculous Black Friday is. You're right, Memphis, you're right. What am I missing here? But let's go further. Forget the holidays. Holiday means holy day. Easter's not holy. Christ Mass is not holy. Christians do not celebrate Mass. Look up the origins of Mass. It'll scare you. Let's move on. Dinosaurs. The scientists have been lying to us. Dinosaurs and man were not here at the same time. You're right. God created the beast on this day and he created the man the next. Now, a 24-hour period. Scientists say millions of years, and they, to this day, lie, say the dinosaurs were wiped out by an asteroid. Really? That means everything would be wiped out, don't you think? Koalas, kangaroos, horsies, duckies. Give me a break. And we're being lied to. The kids are lied to in public education. I do not believe in evolution. And I don't believe that people get mad and say, Mike, that's not important. It is very important. You trot your kids off to school and they're taught right away there is no God. That's important. That's very important. Deuteronomy tells parents, bind them to your foreheads, write them on the doorposts of your house. And they trot them off to school to learn pablum and lies. Kids are not being educated in the public education system. That is a lie. They're being brainwashed. They're being enlisted in Satan's army. Evolution is a lie. It is satanic. Atheists have hijacked the word science. Science and the Bible are harmonious. But science, when it's been hijacked by humanistic atheists, that's the problem. In Texas years ago, they found dino tracks and human footprints within a few feet of each other in the same rock strata. It looks like the scientists got some explaining to do. And you can research that and you can find out. Science just went out and tried to destroy and damage the evidence. Fortunately, pictures were taken. You guys, and I'm sorry, for me to say what I'm saying, you got Christians that are silly. Well, my God could have used evolution. He could have, but he didn't. Genesis doesn't even hint. But watch this. There's Christians in the 80s, I remember hearing this. The most foolish stuff that people come up with sometimes come from Christians. They get into something really weird. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, period. Genesis 1:2, and the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. Y'all heard of the gap theory? I don't believe in that, by the way. People say there's an indefinite amount of time between verse 1 and verse 2. No, there isn't. No, there is not. To use the word feng shui, it flows. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was formless and void. Now, picture Play-Doh, man. Play-Doh's nothing until the maker does something with it, makes a dog or a toy or something out of it. God created the earth, big old round, hard, fast, building blocks, so to speak. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. And Christians try to say that was a gap of millions of years. That makes no sense. God created the heavens and the earth, and they just stopped. That'd be like making the cookie dough, rolling it all out, and then leaving it on the cookie sheet millions of years to go by before throwing it in the oven. Is that even rational? Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning one day. One day. From creating the heavens and the earth to that point of light. And you read on. Plants, animals, water separated from the firmament, waters in the seas, talking about atmosphere, talking about all kinds of things. People will go at great lengths. I've had people, when I was first a Christian in the 80s, I was going to Prescott Christian Church in Arizona. Older gentleman came up to me and said, "I'm going to give you these. I heard some things you say, and I'm glad you believe in the creation, young man." He gave me magazines from CRI, Creation Research Institute, talking about fossils that were found, this and that. And the magazine shredded evolution. When I got saved in 1985 because I sat with Dr. William Wimmer, the youth pastor, and I drilled him with questions. He answered them. Cro-Magnon man was a fraud. Nebraska man or Piltdown man, one of them was constructed from a pig's tooth. I read a book written by a guy he was a dentist. He went into these places in Europe and stuff where he was able to analyze the skulls of the so-called cavemen. He found their teeth and stuff was filed down. The devil goes to great lengths to confuse, to hide the truth. Jenny, I'm always sleepy. Always. Evolution is a lie. All around us are lies. Look at our media in America. They're trying to tell us it's okay to let all the Muslims in. They're trying to tell us it's okay to be gay and be married. That we got to have tolerance for all this. Look at what's happening in Europe and the UK. Look, it's not working. It's not working. Light cannot have compatibility with darkness. The Bible tells us that. If all these bonehead leaders would read the Bible, they would see that you can't bring all this stuff in here. Jenny, yes, I am getting tired. Unfortunately, the heat saps me. And I hate to say it, folks, I'm getting older. Well, thank you for that, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. Did you guys know that when I do my rants, when I feel like God's really moving on my rants and I'm getting passionate, I'm actually tired after that? I've noticed that. Because to speak and to stand on the truth gives you authority. And what is wild is I get worn out. But it's a good worn out. I was hoping I'd make enough on YouTube to be able to launch out into life, meet some of you all, bring you on a live. Because that would get people's attention. Oh, Mike's with somebody on a live. I'm losing it, folks, so we're going to have to shelve this. It does, D. Passionate, but we're not just talking about, we're talking about God. We're talking about spiritual things sometimes, and there's a war out there. All right, folks. It's time. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Hope everybody has a good night. People are changing. There's fires in place. There haven't been traditionally fires. River Rhine's drying up. We got drought in parts of the U.S. Washington, Canada's on fire. Now, that's not symbols of the end. But there's a lot of unrest. Governments are forcing people upon us that are not going to integrate with us well. That's fine. I may read it tomorrow, Jim, but I will check it. But anyways, you guys have a good evening. And Lord willing, I'll see you tomorrow. You too, and thank you.